What if I told you that spirits can talk to the living, and that they're all around us, watching us, waiting for us? Will you believe me? In Taiwan, ghosts and spirits are thought to be real, and speaking to them goes beyond the grave. Appeasing them brings fortune, but disrespecting them can bring calamity. In the end, we all have to journey down the same path. This is the story of a man who is facing his own death, and a close friend of mine who has lost someone dear to her. Both cross over to the other side, but will the spirits talk? Today, like countless days before, I pray at this temple with my family and whisper to the gods. I ask for their blessing on my loved ones, my health, and my career, but I don't think they're listening because I am an atheist. Taiwan, a small island that faces the Pacific Ocean on the east and mainland China on the west. It is my home, where I grew up, a place dotted with temples of worship of gods, spirits, and ghosts, where incense, scriptures, and even magic are used to communicate to the dead. My name is Charlene Shi, and I'm a 34-year-old artist and filmmaker, born and raised in Taiwan, but educated in California. I've returned to my hometown, to my family in Taipei, Taiwan's capital, in hopes of pursuing my filmmaking career. Despite its ultra-modern facade, Taipei is still deeply rooted in ancient religious and spiritual beliefs. In Taiwan, worship is an important part of everyday life. There are many around me who honor spirits and gods in daily devotions. The practices can be as simple as burning incense at a family altar, tossing coins to get answers, or as complex as presenting elaborate spreads of food for the dead to enjoy. They set a stage to speak directly to the dead. Some say they visit the dead on the other side. How can this be true? Communicating with the dead is something I would rather not try. But as I grow older, I find myself wanting to know if spirit talk is truly possible.
你好，我们现在不在家，有事请留言。Hi, this is Jerry Ma. Please leave your message after beep. Thanks. Bye.
Georgia is one of my dearest friends. We met in college in Los Angeles. In just 4 short years, I watched her and her husband get married and start a family. But about a year ago, without any warning, Jerry suddenly died from a brain aneurysm. He was only 30 years old. Georgia was left alone with her 10-month-old baby, overwhelmed with grief and guilt. She still cannot come to terms with her loss. And every day, she wonders if she will ever see or speak to her husband again.
Jerry was already unconscious when he got to the hospital. He did not say a word to me from the moment he passed out. I asked every day, Jerry, where are you? It was just too sudden.
I followed Georgia to visit Jerry's grave at the North Sea Fortune Base, which is a private ossuary in the countryside of Taipei, a building where remains of the dead are stored. She comes here every so often to remember Jerry, talk to him, bring him food, and burn imitation cash or spirit money for him. To many in Taiwan, this is a symbolic gesture that sends food and wealth to the spirit world so that the dead can enjoy the luxuries on the other side.
I think about him every day, and every time when I think about him, I cry a little. But when I come here, I see all that is left of him are only ashes. It is just too much for me to take.
We hear of certain rituals that enable the living to visit the dead. This is what Georgia has been searching for, a chance to speak to her husband again.
I want to know if he is doing okay, because I will feel sad if knowing he's not alright. I also hope he can tell me if there is anything I can do for him.
Perhaps it is out of sympathy. Perhaps it is my own curiosity. But I decide to help Georgia investigate and document these rituals on film. Understanding these rituals is not going to be easy. In Taiwan, there is a fine line between religion and tradition. For millions of Taiwanese, their worship is non-exclusive. We have shrines to at least 200 different gods. Ancient religions such as Buddhism from India and Taoism from mainland China are practiced, but to many, religion and tradition go hand in hand. While a few temples today are purely Buddhist, most Taiwanese traditionally worship a variety of Buddhist, Taoist, and folk deities in a single temple or at a family altar. There is no one church, temple, or system of thought that establishes dogma and dictates belief. In fact, people here are free to pick and choose, within the limits of tradition and community, to form their own religious beliefs and practices. However varied the beliefs are, the majority consider spirits to be ever-present and that there is such thing as life after death. My search for ways of communicating with the dead leads me to a family in the countryside of south-central Taiwan. An old mother holds on to her wish that her son may live. Here, at her family altar, she prays for her son's life, for a miracle. Paul, her youngest son, who was diagnosed with colon cancer a year ago. He stays at a hospital in central Taiwan, 80 kilometers away from his family. He is dying, and he's only 37 years old, married and with 2 children.
I was once a very strong and healthy person and never stopped working. I worked for a future, my family, and my personal dreams. But within 1 year, I totally collapsed and needed to come to the hospice. This had a big impact on me, and I started to wonder what my life really means in this world now.
I learned that Paul's illness is terminal. There's not much time left. I admire him. He has a strong will to live, but also has the courage to face his own death. Paul's mother, however, is not ready to face this reality just yet. She turns to the mediums, intermediaries between humans, spirits, and gods for help. Mediums can sometimes be found in temples like these. They offer spiritual healing and help dispel evil spirits. Sometimes magic symbols are painted directly onto the body or pieces of paper. They are symbolic prescriptions for medicine that help those who truly believe. Paul's mother has faith in the healing power of these rituals and prays her son will wear the magic spells she has received. But will the gods listen? Can the medium really cure Paul's illness? For Paul's family in the countryside, it is difficult to imagine that an illness such as colon cancer may soon rob them of their son, brother, husband, and father. Throughout Paul's illness, his family is torn between modern medicine and religious beliefs. Qing is Paul's older brother.
Ever since he found out about his disease, I have told him to go the professional and scientific way. Don't seek alternative medicine or believe in different gods or things like that. It is not that I can't accept his beliefs, but that I believe in modern science. Our mother knows about Paul's situation, but she believes he will get better, that he will recover and come back home someday. Asking the gods for help is the only support she has right now.
In Taiwan's countryside, religion is less diverse, with lower population density and lack of resources compared to the cities. People here tend to follow the traditions and folk religions to fulfill their needs. For Paul's mother, her need now is to save her son's life.
His children are still so young. A boy was just born not so long ago. When I think about it, I can't help but cry. You can stay with me, okay?
But Daddy doesn't let me stay here.
Why didn't he want you to stay? What are you going to do if your daddy doesn't get well?
We can pray to the gods and ask them to help Daddy get better.
We have to pray every day. Pray to your grandpa, to gods. But your daddy is thinner and thinner every day. He can't eat anything.
Meeting Paul's family and watching them go through this battle is extremely hard for me. I'm almost not sure how to continue this journey, but documenting this on film is no longer just a personal desire. It is also becoming Paul's last wish. Back in the big city, Georgia wishes to find her dead husband, Jerry. Casting aside any reservations, her deep longing to reach him brings her to this place. We found this Taoist temple in Taipei, known for transporting people to the other side. It is a place shrouded in controversy. Some ridicule the events that take place here as mere superstition or hoax, while others truly believe they can speak to the dead. Guo Zhenliu is a government worker and a part-time medium who has been practicing the blindfold Taoist ritual for more than 20 years.
Different gods pass on different spells to us. When we read these spells, as long as your mind is at peace and your heart follows, they get a message and they will come help guide you to this other world. These spells are meant to invite the gods, but the unknown can also help clear your thoughts. The spell on the paper need to face the front. When the ritual starts, you will have to be blindfolded. Make sure your feet are touching the ground. It is important to connect with the magnetic field between the earth and air. After we started reading the spells, for people who are connected to the gods, you might start to see small luminous spots. Do not judge it yourself. Raise your hand. We will come help guide you.
The ritual begins with the chanting of spells invoking the gods to lead these people to the other side. It is hot and bright outside, but the chanting somehow makes the air cooler. I can feel everyone's tension as the ritual continues. Some of the people here have lost loved ones and wish to reach out to them, like Georgia. Some are just curious about what it's like in the afterlife. A few are hoping that this ritual may help change their bad luck by finding out if their ancestor spirits are angry with them and are causing their misfortune. No hint or guidance is given until someone has a vision and raises his hand. Into the blindfold Taoist ritual, some people around Georgia start to react.
I think I see Buddha. She keeps smiling at me. She's not saying anything, just showing me a hand signal.
So you see the hand signal clearly? Does it mean she is asking you to follow her?
A road appeared after the door opened. It looks like it's in the woods. There is grass around it.
Finally, their journey comes to an end.
Not so afraid anymore, right?
I wasn't afraid. When I heard about other people's experiences, I thought it was unbelievable. I didn't really see anything in particular. I was afraid I could still see room lights. So I asked for another layer to cover my eyes, but I still didn't see anything the second time. All I saw were some black, purple, and blue colors with smoke intertwined.
Why couldn't she cross over while others could? Why couldn't she see Jerry?
This is the first time I did this ritual, so I was nervous and I had a great expectation to communicate with my husband. Of course, the more expectation, the more disappointment for me. Especially, I know other people can see, but why couldn't I?
Perhaps the gods are not listening today. As Georgia turns to another medium for answers, Paul's condition worsens. His daughter Shaojun refuses to give up.
Gods, please bless my dad. Help him to get better so we can be together.
I wish I had cherished my health more and taken better care of myself. I wish I had cherished my relationships with people more, the love between people. These things are the highest priority. The dream I used to have was to make a lot of money, buy a big house and nice cars. But right now, these things are not important. What is most important is to have an ordinary life and a healthy, happy family.
It is June, and Paul tells his family that he does not want to die next month, for it will be Ghost Month. In Taiwan, on the first day of the 7th lunar month, the gates of hell are temporarily opened, and spirits and ghosts are invited to visit the world of the living. Here, it is believed that appeasing lost spirits and ghosts is a way of ensuring against misfortune. The most important date in this month is the 15th, the Zhongyuan Festival. All across Taiwan, families lay out elaborate feasts for their ancestors and gods in homes and in temples. The Taiwanese also honor the lost spirits, those who have died at sea, in battles, or ghosts without families. If spirits have no descendants to worship them, some believe that they will become ghosts. Out of respect, we call them our good brothers. Special rituals were created to honor these good brothers, to find a better place so they can stop their wandering. In time, the rituals became a way of bringing society together for a yearly festival. People celebrate the state, but the underlying theme is much more serious, because people believe the ghosts are out there. From these beliefs stem certain taboos, and to Paul, dying is one of them. Paul is worried he will die while the good brothers are out. He is getting weaker and can no longer talk to us. Despite his suffering, Paul insists on returning home. Family continuity and ancestor veneration are very important to Taiwanese culture. While there are many superstitions surrounding death, it is family unity that remains a constant thread. The family wants to make the dying person feel as comfortable as possible through care, prayers, and the presence of spirit ancestors, so the soul can move easily out of this world and into the next. Like so many other Taiwanese people before him, Paul wants to die near his family and ancestors. I try to imagine how Paul feels, and I know nothing is more important than my family. If it were the last day of my life, I would want to be at a place I'm most familiar with the people I love. At home, Paul's family and friends are by his side. They take turns feeding him rice soup, even though he can barely eat any longer or recognize anyone.
You have slept for too long. It is not good for you. Yes, you are so brave. Make a thumb up.
Perhaps he really has slept for too long and does not believe this is the end of his life. Or maybe he's resting in preparation for the next journey to begin. He once said to me, life is like a train track, one connected to another.
It must continue.
All night, I hear the sounds of coins being tossed and prayers at the family altar, and I know they're the last desperate pleas to the gods from Paul's mother. She still holds on to the hope that he will survive and live through this. She doesn't give up. And back in Taipei, neither does Georgia. After a disappointing attempt to find her husband, Georgia's questions remain unanswered. She decides to ask a different medium to cross over, but will she be prepared for what he will see? The blindfold Taoist ritual has ended, but there is a second chance for those who have not successfully crossed over on their own. They can get answers directly from the medium. Georgia is one of them.
I didn't get to see my husband today. I would like to ask for guidance.
God smiles and says, right now it is not a good time. The gods want to tell you it is understandable that you want to know how your husband is doing now. But whether he's doing well or not, what can you do? Because you are so anxious to see him. If things appear in front of you, she's afraid you won't be able to take it. The image appearing here, it's a woman, deep in thought, sitting on the bed. There's a man standing on the other side, but he's in pain. They cannot communicate with each other, even though they can feel each other's presence. I hear people crying. I'm in a very dark room. It looks like a prison. A prison. There are many good brothers. It looks like he's suffering in pain. I cannot wake him up. God says you shouldn't keep living in the old memory. The most important thing is to take care of the child right now.
This news was not what she expected to hear. The medium tells her to read Buddhist scriptures to reduce Jerry's pain and sins, to change Jerry's circumstance.
Since I did not see things with my own eyes, I'm still skeptical. After all the words came from someone else, I can't be sure if this is true or not. I don't know if the person he described was really my husband. I would rather believe it is not real, because if it is, it's just too painful for me.
I know Georgia is suffering in her heart, and I feel guilty in some way. I was hoping to have a happy ending, hoping to hear that Jerry is having a good life in the afterlife, but instead, I heard this terrible news. I don't know how to comfort Georgia besides writing a simple email. Later in the day, more bad news. I learned from Paul's family that Paul is now unconscious. The time is near. 220 kilometers away, Paul's family prepares for his afterlife. To them, it is important to follow the family tradition and to make sure Paul will leave this world as comfortable as possible and can go on to his next life. His brother Qing is going to a local shop that only carries accessories for the dead. Now Qing buys a new suit for his youngest brother, knowing that it will be the last suit Paul will ever wear, at least in this life.
Facing this life and death situation, in my heart, of course, it is hard to let go. But things still need to be taken care of.
At home, Qing carries Paul out to the main room and helps him into his brand new suit. Paul's heart beats slower and weaker. I no longer hear Paul's mother tossing coins. Sadly, this afternoon in his living room, Paul loses his struggle to live at age 37. His elderly mother and 5 siblings, his wife and 2 young children are all by his side. Paul, the youngest of his siblings, is the first to die. As soon as Paul loses his last breath, a paper sedan chair and 2 paper bearers are burned and offered to the heavens as a way to inform the gods that Paul has passed away. I don't have a religious family, but we do practice simple rituals from time to time. An artist and calligrapher, my mother will write Buddhist scriptures in Chinese calligraphy and burn them for my grandfather on the anniversary of his death. Through this simple act, she hopes that he can receive her prayers. This time, my mother writes Buddhist scriptures for Paul as her condolence. When I'm back at Paul's home, it is 7 days later. We send our prayers to Paul in the form of calligraphy. Gods, spirits, ancestors, and ghosts, In Taiwan, they are all thought of as former human beings. They exist in either heaven or purgatory, separated and mediated by the world of the living. Communication is achieved through a ritual code. Paul's family is preparing the first seventh, one of the most important rituals practiced for the dead in Taiwan. Many believe the spirit will either go to heaven, hell, or reincarnate on the 49th day after a person dies. Families practice the ritual every 7th day until the 49th day to reduce the spirit's pain and lessen the punishment for sins committed during this lifetime. Paul's family hires a group of Buddhist women to read scriptures to him. They want Paul's spirit to have every chance to be at peace and go to heaven. These women have another important task: to invite Paul's spirit back for a visit. It is commonly believed that the spirit will come back and visit loved ones on this first seventh. The spirit's presence is determined by a coin toss. After an hour of chanting, one question hangs in the air. Is Paul here?
You will come back to listen to these scriptures. Okay, now toss coins.
Nothing. Xiaojun, you toss the coins this time. Call Daddy. After you talk to him, you can toss the coins.
Daddy, please come back.
Finally, the right toss. Buddhists believe in reincarnation, that a spirit can return to this world as a human, an animal, or an insect. Perhaps Paul's spirit is really here, and perhaps he has transformed into an insect. As I look around me, I happen to see a beetle sitting quietly and still on a leaf nearby. I wonder if maybe, just maybe, this is Paul. If he has returned in the form of a beetle, then it is truly a beautiful moment. As for Paul's physical body, he continues to rest in the living room and will remain there for another week, until the time comes for his funeral. Day and night, Paul's family stays by him. This is a custom practiced by a white majority of Taiwanese people. Years ago, it was meant to protect the body from animals. Later, it became an opportunity for the whole family to unite and to express their love for the person they have lost. Paul's mother, who loved him so dearly, is banned from participating in the rituals due to the belief that if a child dies before his parents, then it is considered disobedience. As a gesture of disapproval, his mother watches in silence. The afterlife. I wonder what it's like, if there is one. I vividly remember the way my grandmother used to describe it. My grandmother, 100 years old and born in the Qing dynasty. She insists that when people die, they go to another world.
Many people have been there, real trees and real houses, just like in our world.
She told me back in her hometown, different rituals were performed to bring people to the underworld.
The people who have already passed away for years are still there.
As a child, I never questioned her story. But now, when the medium told Georgia that her husband Jerry is suffering in the afterlife, I can't help but question. Georgia's heart is not at ease. She may not believe what the medium said, but every day she diligently reads Buddhist scriptures, hoping this will help Jerry and stop his suffering. In Taiwan, many believe the dead and the living can affect each other's lives, and that performing certain rituals can help alter circumstances. Paul's family feels he suffered greatly from his illness and did not live a full life. They want to do something to ensure that his spirit is relieved of continued pain in the afterworld. Paul's mother insists on having a special ritual performed in his honor called the Da Chen, which means release the spirit from hell.
I want to have the Da Chen ritual done for him. Maybe he will feel much better. This is the least I can do. People who live here have been doing this ritual for a long time by following what the ancestors did, and it seems to work.
This ritual takes place the day before Paul's funeral. Today, the medium is called upon as a healer to cure Paul of all illnesses. The singing is meant to attract Paul's spirit and ask the gods to lead him into the afterworld. With their protection, Paul's spirit will not get lost. Medicine is in the form of written prescriptions on uncooked eggs. The solitary paper doll inside this paper house represents the spirit of Paul. The Da Chen ceremony, mainly practiced in southern Taiwan. It is performed for people who have died in sickness or at a young age. Some believe these spirits are trapped in hell. The medium will ask the gods from hell to release the spirit. The paper-made house symbolizes the underworld. As part of the ritual, he will break the paper house and rescue the paper doll, administer the medicine through incense, and ensure Paul will forever be released from pain and continue on to heaven. 40 minutes pass before the lead medium swings his long sword and cuts open the paper house.
Paul is released from hell. He is released from hell.
No one knows for certain if Paul's spirit is present or if his illness is finally cured, except Paul's mother, who believes with all her heart. I can only hope it is so.
All your illnesses are gone. You are all better now.
The crew and I stay at Paul's home tonight. It has been a long night, and I'm extremely tired, but I have trouble sleeping. Tomorrow is Paul's funeral, and my thoughts turn to a similar situation last year, when I was with Georgia at Jerry's funeral. My closest friend was once a happy woman, but now she's a desperate widow and a mother who cries on my shoulder. She was the reason I wanted to make this film, but now I find myself emotionally tied to another family's life. We wake up before the crack of dawn. It is time for Paul's funeral. Paul's wife helps him into a pair of brand new shoes, the last physical gesture she can make for him. I feel so much sorrow for this family, especially the two young children. They are told that the piece they tear off from each corner of their father's blanket should be kept as a reminder that Paul's spirit will forever watch over them. It is believed that if you die before your parent, then you're disobedient. This is very stressful to Paul's mother. Even though her son is dead, custom dictates that she must punish him. His mother's final farewell is not a kiss, but a beating. A wooden stick is used to swat at Paul to let him know it is not right for him to leave his old mother behind. The funeral marks the end of Paul's life and the beginning of a new one. The family did all they could for Paul before and after his death. May his body rest and may his spirit find peace. After several weeks of reading Buddhist scriptures, Georgia is anxious for some answers. She tried the traditional Taiwanese folk ritual, but all that gave her was more pain and a greater urgency to find her husband. She decides to try one more time, but through a Western way of communicating with the dead. Hypnosis is a technique for contacting the other world. Therapists claim they can lead patients to previous incarnations, where they can see or even talk to the dead. We find Dr. Chen, who has his own psychiatric clinic in Taipei. He has been practicing hypnosis for 17 years. But will he be able to bring Georgia to Jerry? After trying the Eastern way of communicating with spirits, Georgia attempts one last time to reach Jerry through the Western method of hypnosis.
Since he didn't get a chance to say anything before he died, you can find out what he wanted to say. After I count to 5, your superconsciousness will go to the extreme level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you feel where you are right now?
Seems like I am in a forest.
Do you see anything?
There are some stones. I feel suddenly there is a scene popping up where he is riding a horse and he falls off. He is badly hurt. Seems like he has been unconscious for a long time. I am in the hospital now. The whole way.
Now go to the moment when he died.
I feel he is standing behind us. I see him. He seems very pale. He said he sees his body lying over there. He's very sad. I feel he keeps feeling sorry for me. He said our son will be just like him, especially his personality. He said our son's success will be my success in the future. Before hypnosis, I thought things would appear like a movie, but when I actually did it, I feel it was more like my own imagination. I'm still skeptical about it. Jerry said he was sorry. I don't know if it is because in my heart I think he should be sorry, or because of the way he passed away. It's so unfair.
As for now, Georgia keeps herself busy by taking care of her 2-year-old son and working at a high-tech company. She still reads the Buddhist scriptures and burns ghost money for Jerry. One day in the near future, she would like to return to the Taoist temple and attempt to find Jerry again. And when asked if she never finds Jerry,
sometimes I think, if I really get to see Jerry again, it won't matter, because our old life will never start again. Things cannot be changed. He is in his world, and I am in mine. If we can be together again in this life, I will wait for the next.
It has been 100 days since Paul's funeral. There's a simple ritual to perform in the family home. Paul's mother cooks a table full of his favorite food while the family burns spirit money and old clothes for him to receive. From this moment on, Paul's memorial tablet will have a permanent place among his ancestors in the family altar. Over time, Paul's family begins to smile again. His children have grown, and I can see the continuity of life that Paul had talked about. From these two families, I see the power of love will carry over from this life to the life after death, if there truly is one. I'm honored that they allow me to enter their lives during their moments of need and to document their experience on film. To this day, science cannot prove the existence of spirits, but to these two families in Taiwan, their beliefs and the rituals they perform are more important, because they did it out of love for those who have passed on. In their hearts, spirit talk is possible. Grandma, can you hear me? Just days before, my grandmother passed away. I witnessed her cremation, and now there are only ashes. Like Paul's family, we diligently burned paper money, as well as paper cars, houses, and servants for her use in the afterworld. Somehow, burning these items helped soothe my pain. For now, I know she will live comfortably. This place is my home, and these people are just like me. They have loved ones that have passed on. I whisper to her now, and I know my grandmother is listening with all her heart. I believe that if human love reaches beyond our physical bodies in this world, the spirits feel it in theirs. We can't be all alone. I am not alone, because I can still see my grandmother from time to time in my heart.